Hey, Alice Boll here from scrapbookwonderland.com and the ScrapHappy membership group. I'm here to show you the Love You to the Core layout that I made during the Scrapbook Live event in September. Normally during a Scrapbook Live event, I use a kit from the Wild Hair Kits. However, this month, because I held my event a little earlier than normal, the kit didn't have a chance to arrive. So I was like, no, what do I do? Thankfully, Allison Gerling was on the ball and she had a great idea. She sent me a scrapbook challenge board, and it was my job to try to pull off as many of the challenges as I possibly could on the layouts that I created. And I'll include a link to the challenge board underneath this video. I'll also link up the full As If You Were There Scrapbook Live video. So when I started to create this page, I discovered that I wanted to include more photos on it, which meant I was going to need some smaller photos than what I had printed. So I actually took a moment and printed off some smaller pictures. Most of the time when I do a Scrapbook Live event, I make a page that usually only has one photo on it, and this page actually has 6, so that was quite a big challenge in itself. The pictures I chose are featuring me hanging out with some of my high school friends, and we were making some apple desserts. I really liked that background paper that I found from Coca Vanilla. It is from their More Than Words collection, and it's called Sketchbook. I started by laying out the photos kind of in a grid or a relaxed grid style in order to get a layout that kind of felt like all the pictures were connected and you could kind of read it like a story. And you'll notice that the top photo is actually a black and white picture, and that helped me check off one of the prompts from the challenge board. So some of the other prompts that I was able to pull off was to use 5 products from non-American craft designers. Yes, I did that. Mix 5 products from 3 different collections. You betcha I did that too. Combine more than 2 different sets of alphas, which I did. And use at least 2 photos of yourself. No problem. And use a black and white photo. So out of all of the challenges on the challenge board, there was 16 different things, and I did 5 of them just on this one page, so I thought that was pretty great. When it came time to embellish this layout, I remembered that I had an awesome stamp set from Close to My Heart with little apples. It was something like a bushel a day, or I can't remember if that's what it was called, something like that. And so I stamped out my apples and an apple pie and a bushel of apples, a basket full of apples, and then I proceeded to color them with a little bit of Distress Oxide ink. I like the slightly muted tones that I got from using the Distress Oxide ink instead of actually using like a marker to color the images. And of course, once they were all inked and colored, I had to do the fussy cutting. Not my favorite thing to do, but just for a few embellishments like this, I can survive. So while I was fussy cutting, I decided I'd better start thinking about my title. And of course, I didn't really have a great idea for a title. So what did I do? I went crowdsourcing. I asked my audience, and someone came up with the idea of Love You to the Core, which I just thought was brilliant. I'm like, absolutely, that is perfect. I don't have to think about this anymore. And then came the most brilliant idea. I think it was Janet from RTS Scrapbooking YouTube channel that said I should replace the O in the word core with an apple. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is absolutely brilliant. So thank you to Janet. And if it wasn't Janet, it was someone else, I'm sorry. And totally like leave a comment and take all the credit because I can't really remember. I was really excited to include a die cut that had the word love, and it was written in gold foil. And that just made me think, I'm going to need a little bit more gold on this layout. So once I added the word love with the gold foil, I actually went and found some gold foil little tiny square letters that say to the for adding to the core. And then to add just a few little finishing touches of gold, I found some Bo Bunny rub-on transfers, and they're just like little X's, and I added those in a couple of finishing spots. And oh my gosh, it was just like the perfect little touch, perfect little embellishment. And I have to say, like, it's funny how that inspiration for the gold kind of came, but I definitely used that visual triangle to try to include that gold across the page to kind of draw your eye. Your eye kind of pops from one section of gold to the next, and you kind of bounce across the page. So I really love how that turned out. Another technique that I used on this was I did some clustering. So I had two main clusters of embellishments. The one cluster was down in the lower right near the title, and I added a little pie, a couple of apples. I used dimension. I put in a piece of doily underneath there because it had that soft lines and, baking, doilies, kitchens. It kind of all seemed to fit in my mind. But I added a little piece of doily and I mounted the layers of the embellishment cluster on top of that. Everything is really close together, but I used dimensional tape in order to create layers of interest. And then the other cluster is up by the title for the word love. And so I've got a little basket of apples up there with apples on different layers. And for finishing touches, I added just a couple little bits of enamel dots. And they were just like the little icing on the cake. And in the one embellishment cluster, I added a little tiny, it's a foam sticker of a camera. And I played with the idea of putting it in the cluster, not including it in the cluster. I really wasn't sure if I liked it. In the end, I added it. And now that I've lived with it for a while, it's totally fine. And it's like it always was meant to be there now. But I could still make an argument for not putting it there. And I don't know, sometimes when you're just not sure, it just doesn't even matter. If you don't hate it that much, then maybe it doesn't matter. And if you like it, then that's great. Another thing that I did on this layout was I had the word you as a little sticker on a sticker sheet, but it was the wrong color. So I actually used my Distress Oxide inks to ink up the sticker, and then I used that, and it's applied under the word love. So it says love you, and then to the core down on the other side. The journaling reads, it's always fun hanging out with my high school friends. This time we went to Karen's and we made apple desserts with a ton of apples. I peeled apples all day and we made pie, pudding, and apple turnovers. Yum! To join me for a Scrapbook Live event, pop over to scrapbookwonderland.com/subscribe and fill out the pink and blue email box. You'll receive an invite to join us for the next live event. And remember, one of our lucky winners will receive a free kit from the Wild Hair Kits. These are custom curated kits and they're a ton of fun to play with. Do you like layouts that have multiple photos like this one? Leave a comment below and let me know how many photos you normally put on your pages. Happy scrapping!